Alrighty, peeps. Welcome to another podcast. This is a little bit different from what we normally are expecting and the usual protocol as to what we normally do. I'm currently in the studio right now, as you can see, and I got some video here with this podcast that I normally do. I was sort of thinking to myself, the last podcast, which didn't do so well, and I don't know if that was a timing issue as to when I brought it out. Maybe it didn't get into everybody's feed or whatnot, but YouTube is a very visual platform, so I was wondering maybe if this little conversation that we'll have face to face while I'm podcasting maybe might be the answer to what we need, and maybe that's what's lacking with the other podcasts. I sort of feel like, I don't know, I feel like that might be the extra factor involved in this one, but we're going to see, we're going to try it out. Do me a favor, later on in this podcast or whenever you get a chance, just write in the comments below if you preferred the video with the audio or if you're just an audio kind of person sort of thing. Couple of other things. First of all, as you noticed, the intro was a little bit different. I don't know if I'm actually cutting the intro out right now as I'm speaking to you when you see this video. I was on Audacity, which is the software that I use to record this. By the way, Audacity is a free software. Great software if you're ever doing podcasting or you got to record vocals of any sort. So I'm plugging them because they're so great to have this as a free thing. So I'm using Audacity, but when I was trying to bring in the music today, it was just totally bugging out on me, and my ears are currently ringing because of how bloody loud I have it, which I should have handled a little bit earlier, but nonetheless it was bugging out, so I said forget the intro, let's get straight to this. So I'm Kenny Molotov, as you guys already know. This is my channel, Kenny Molotov. I am a YouTuber, a plumber. I also do magic. I'm a magician, and I also have a music channel now, and I aptly called it Skilled Labor. So if you go onto YouTube and you check out Skilled Labor, it's my music channel. I have my very first song officially out on there, which is both nerve-wracking and exciting at the same time. So if you get a chance, I will even link it down below. So go ahead down there and check it out. Warning, I need to caution you right now. If there are any young ears listening, there is some cursing in this song. It is a trap electronic song, a little bit aggressive in nature. Most of my friends were like, wow, this is a really aggressive song. It's not horrendous. I think there's one curse word in it in regards to aggression. So I don't know. It was something that I tried that I'm a bit passionate about, that I'm trying to get my feet into and hands into and learn how to do. I really enjoy producing music. There's something very satisfying with it for me. And music speaks to me in a way that I find that all of my other artistic endeavors, including this plumbing channel, just doesn't do. This plumbing channel doesn't do. Those things, music just does something a little bit different for me. So this is the basic protocol of the plumbing podcast. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through my week, tell you what I did and some stories around that if I have any good ones, and then I will talk about where the channel's going and what we're going to do next. And that's basically going to be the protocol for today. We are currently sitting at, and please don't mind me getting on my phone. I typically do this without a camera, so it's not so obvious, but you're getting the behind the scenes right now as to what happens. But we're going to talk about the channel real quickly. Let me just click into Kenny Molotov right here. So the channel is sitting at 1,636 peeps. Peeps, I really appreciate you guys supporting and always messaging me, letting me know what you guys think on the topics and whatnot. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people to be on the channel. I'm really proud of that. I'm really excited to where it can go. Like I said, I was never expecting this from my plumbing stuff, but the fact that it kicked in and it took hold and it took flight, I should say. Man, my English in the morning of Saturday is not great, but I'm going to push through, peeps, push through. really excited about the fact that we have a community on here. I didn't upload any videos this week, as you probably have noticed, because this week was a little bit, I had a hard time kind of putting myself into gear and getting something done. I've shot a couple of videos and I'm in the midst of editing them, but currently no videos. This is going to be the first one up this week. I got to tell you about my week, first of all. Let me click this up and tell you what exactly I did this week. It was Wednesday was an interesting day. I'll tell you that a little bit later. Let's start on the Monday. What happened? So on Monday, that's right. On Monday, we actually did a little bit of heating this week. My dad and I are just plumbers, but because we're in the vicinity of a lot of heating, a lot of guys down here, guys and gals in the trades, sometimes they try to get both heating and their plumbing licenses. Here in Canada, which is Ontario, the province, heating and plumbing are two different trades. I know that in certain states in America, they're one and the same. Here in Canada, it's not the same here. So you need to get a separate license with separate hours of an apprenticeship with your heating and separate hours with your apprenticeship for your plumbing. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy there. That's why not all companies are heating and plumbing companies. Some companies are just plumbing, some are just heating, and that's basically it. But what we ended up doing on Monday was we ended up going to a building that we normally service, and we had to replace a gasket initially. So we get in there, we sort of open up the two pumps that we were looking at, because these two pumps were both leaking, and the same sort of pump. And we take a look at them. We figure out, okay, it's probably a couple of gaskets. We run out to the store, to the supplier. We purchase the two gaskets we think we need. We come back. We start replacing them. Realize that one of the gaskets we got was the wrong one, actually. So we had to go back and get the correct one. We're back. We replace both of them. We turn on the entire system. Lo and behold, they are both still leaking. So it wasn't just a matter of gaskets, unfortunately. We had to change the entire impeller. I say that word so with emphasis because my dad was calling it the Impala. And I was like, what's I only know the car. Isn't that also an animal? So nonetheless, it's the impeller, and we had to do that entire system. We had to completely change those things. Now, the difficulty with that is they're a bit expensive. So you go from changing a gasket, which is just another word for it is an O-ring, to going to an impeller. What was I calling it? An impeller. And an impeller is actually a couple of $100. So you need to change both of these, unfortunately. And it's a really difficult conversation. Fortunately, the person that we're working with is close to us, so she totally understands. It's her building, by the way. So we did that. We changed it up, and I got a name down here that I don't remember who I helped out. What did I do on Monday? I'm trying to figure out who Maria is. That's what I wrote down. So we did that. All right, we're going to skip over Monday. That was the basic big job of Monday. On Tuesday was when we actually changed the impeller of the two pumps. We only did one pump thus far because one was leaking terribly, and the other one we were like, okay, it's got a slight little leak. Maybe we can hold off for a little. That way, the owner of the building can, save up some cash to get the other impeller. So on Tuesday, we ended up going back and changing the impeller because we had to order it in. And then afterwards, we ended up doing a little bit of pricing. Now, as a small plumbing company, you have the task of not only going and doing the work, but also procuring the work. That's one of the big things that smaller companies it'll be more transparent. When you're working with a bigger company, the thing is that they usually have crews of people that are just going out to job sites, and then it's like management, and it's the heads of the company that'll go out and actually bid on jobs and find new jobs, etc. With the small company, we're doing both. So we literally are working with our hands, and one of us will have to leave and go to another job site just to price a job. And that's what we were doing on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we ended up getting approached by a gentleman that said he had a customer that needed a backflow preventer installed because the city's asking for it. Now, in the past, I've talked to you guys about backflow preventers. I'm going to get into it briefly because it's something I'm going to have on a vlog for sure, because it's backflow season. And I say that because every single year, any company with a backflow preventer has to call in a licensed backflow tester, or technician, I should say, to come in and test it. And if there are any problems with the system, they actually have to replace the parts for it. And after replacing it, you have to submit the paperwork to prove to the city, to basically say, Kenny Molotov from Sigma Plumbing hereby sign off on this backflow preventer, and it is working as of today, whatever the day is. So a backflow preventer, very briefly, is a device that we install on the water system of the building. Sorry, you saw me look over at the door. The door shook for a second. I'm not sure if somebody's on the other side of it or not. It's freaking me out, though. A backflow preventer is a device that you put on the water that's being distributed in the house. So it's not a drainage system. It's the water. Every time you turn on your taps, that's the water system I'm talking about. You put this device on that water system so that in the case of a backflow, normally the water goes through the system and down through your faucet. A backflow is when the water is actually being siphoned the opposite way. And this has happened many times in history, and a lot of contaminants get into the water system because of it. So you got to imagine water, you can siphon water in a lot of liquids, correct? So what happens is that if you got negative pressure going the opposite way of where the faucet's supposed to go, faucet goes down, negative pressure starts going backwards because you're draining the system, let's say. I don't know if this makes any sense. I promise you in the vlog, I'm going to have a lot of visuals to make this make sense for everybody. But imagine the water's going the opposite direction because it's currently siphoning. Now, here's the thing. If the water's siphoning in this system, you got a lot of negative pressure, so it's pulling all this water. And let's say you have a hose somewhere connected to a hose bib outside. Let's say you have a hose outside, and that hose is stuck in a bottle of bleach. Okay, so it's attached to your system. As the water's being dragged out with the negative pressure, now that hose, which is in a bottle of bleach, is also going to be siphoning out. So it's going to be sucking this bleach into the pipes of your house. So if that occurs and they're still in the pipes, when you turn on the water, bleach is coming out of your faucet. You see what I'm saying? That's basically a really simplified version of saying why we have backflow preventers. We have backflow preventers to make sure nothing like this has happened, because there have been very severe cases where this has occurred and people have perished because of this. It's a very serious thing. So we install these things called backflow preventers, and a lot of times backflow preventers are really simple devices. So I don't know if you guys know what a check valve is, but a check valve is basically a trap door. So the water will come in and it'll open this door up, and you'll continue having water come in because it's moving with the pressure. And then the moment the pressure goes backwards, the door actually shuts on it and doesn't allow water to get through. Cool. That's a lot of backflow preventers you'll see. They have a double check valve assembly or whatnot. There's a bunch of different types of backflow preventers, but that's one that's very typical. And The thing is, though, is that these things don't always activate. That's the real difficulty with it, because sometimes debris gets into the door where it's supposed to slam shut, so it won't, and it'll be a little bit open. I just hit my mic, as you saw. So it'll be a little bit open, which means that it won't be able to close correctly, which means water's still getting back into the system when it's not supposed to. So every single year we get called in from a few buildings that have backflow preventers to get the test done, because that's what is expected from the city. Now, this gentleman that called us in is a backflow technician, and he met us at our mechanic. We just met this guy, and he's like, "Oh, you do backflows too?" "Yeah, so do I." He goes, "By the way, we have a guy who needs a backflow preventer installed. Do you guys install them?" Because he's just a technician. He's not a plumber who can install these things. So he gave us the phone number. We ended up going there that day, taking a look, making sure that we knew what was in store. Then we priced it, gave him the quote. He was happy with it. And when he comes back from a little trip that he's going to, I think he's going to New York or something like that, we are going to start off that job and get it done. It's a little bit of a bigger job in the sense that you have to get permits involved. So you have to first apply for the permit, show the city that you are a licensed installer, you are a licensed plumber that can install this sort of thing, and then afterwards you can test it and give them all the results, basically. And after that, you got to wait a couple of weeks for that. After that, you can actually go ahead and get the work done, call an inspector to come in to take a look at it, etc. So that's basically the game plan there. Wednesday was really fun. I gotta be honest, Wednesday we didn't do any work at all. We decided, it's really, I know it's a bit slow right now. Work's a bit slow right now. And the thing is that in the last month or so, we were so swamped that I was like, my mental health was so off. It was so horrible. I was exhausted. Because I'd be coming home every day at 8 or 9 o'clock. Job sites were just taking way too long. The complications that we had to deal with were ridiculous. So it's a little bit slow right now, but for Dad and I feel like we both feel like it's a bit of a blessing. So we're taking it very well. In other words, we ended up going fishing on Wednesday. We spent 4 or 5 hours just fishing on Wednesday, which was, let me tell you, it was a blast. I had a great time fishing. We didn't catch anything, guys. We didn't even get a nibble on our fishing rods, but just being out there in front of the water, just, throwing that line in and just waiting. I don't know, man. There's something super calming about fishing, and it was a great blessing. We had a great time on Wednesday. We just chilled, man. We just chilled, and we fished it up. And I remember that morning, I sort of looked at that. I said, "You got any serious work today?" And Dad was like, "Well, we got a couple of places we can go." He had a couple of places he could go and quote, essentially. And I was like, "Look, if you got nothing serious, I haven't been fishing in about a year, So we grabbed the rods, we got out there, fished it up. Man, it's really weird how many people are out fishing. I don't know. Some of them look like they were at that age where they were retired, which in that case, I totally understand. You set up a whole day of fishing. I get it. You don't got to go to work. It's the younger individuals that confuse me and make me go, "Don't you work?" And then the question really comes down to them probably looking at me going, Don't you work, bro? You're wearing a Sigma plumbing shirt. What the hell's going on?" So I don't want to pass judgment. I'm just saying I was a bit confused as to how many people were fishing at the same time as us. But nonetheless, maybe they just found a great opportunity like us and said, "What the hell? It's a beautiful Wednesday. Let's go fishing." Peeps, I got to tell you, man, it's summer outside. Knock on wood, man. In this Canadian winter that we just had, it finished us off with an ice storm that completely kicked our asses. And then about a week after that, we had this crazy wind. It was like hurricane type wind, breaking trees, just ruining people's days basically. So we had a really rough winter. It's really nice to have hot weather right now and to be able to just go outside and not wear anything that's like bomber jacket style or anything like that. Just wear something that's short sleeved. Just go out without a jacket. It's just such a blessing in disguise. I had to press record again on this thing. So it was just a great blessing to be able to be outside and do something that I haven't done in a while, which was super relaxing as well. Yeah, sorry, I had to do that little thing with my face right now because the light was kind of silly. So that was Wednesday. We took Wednesday off completely. And then Thursday, Thursday was a big day. We did a bunch of things on Thursday. Okay, so on Thursday, what we ended up doing is we started off the morning by going and doing a hose bip. So the thing is when the winter turns to summer, there's always a very short period of time, which I like to call hose bip season, where people are finally, it's warm enough outside to finally turn on your hoses and water things, basically. And that's exactly where the weather's at right now. And the reason why it's a season is because it's the very first time you turn on your hose bip that you realize something might have gone wrong. So the thing is with hose bips is that if you have any water left over in that pipe that the hose bip is discharging, discharging isn't the right word, I guess. If you have any water in that pipe that the hose beep is being served by, we're going to go with that, okay, peeps? You're going to notice that over the winter season, it can potentially burst. So a lot of times when people turn on their hose beeps for the first time, they realize that water is running in their basements or whatnot, so you have to call in a plumber to come in and fix a small section of pipe. Happens all the time, happens every season. And a lot of other times, it's actually the valve that's serving the hose beep that people want us to come in and install. Funny story is, as most of you know, as probably the most of you know, what language was that? Probably the most of you? No. Guys, I'm so tired right now, but I'm waking up as we're talking. So probably most of you know that my wife and I just bought a house and it's being renovated with, we're putting in forced air rather than baseboard heating. And as I'm working there one Saturday, I get a knock on the door and this gentleman's like, I need a plumber. I go, cool, sure, let me help you out. He goes, my hose beep's not working. And before he knew it, he goes, like I explained to him that this was the house. He goes, oh crap, we're neighbors actually. So I ended up going over to my neighbor's house and changing a hose beep. It's called a bonnet, which is the valve that goes into, I think it's an MCO valve. And it's one of those valves that you have to continuously turn to the right to close, turn to the left to open. And the bonnet is that mechanism that basically you have to turn to stop water from going through the valve. So he called me over to end up doing one for him. I ended up doing one or two more, I think, last week. The week before that. So it's a very small period of time called hose beep season. And we're just getting through that right now. And we started off this week by doing a hose bip Thursday. We started off Thursday by doing a hose bip. And then afterwards, we actually had to do another hose bip at a different place that we work at. But the other place that we worked at was a building. And the difficulty with the building was that the wall that the hose beep is in isn't insulated. And it's an exterior wall. Whenever you have that, you have a really high probability of it freezing. So it's actually been twice now that my dad's had to replace this hose beep because of this same situation. And this is twice over probably the duration of 5 or 6 years. So what we had to do was really sit back and decide how we're going to run this pipe so that it has the least amount of probability of of freezing on us. So what we ended up doing was had to essentially replace it so that the pipe comes inside the building beyond this wall, and then run it through where there's heating constantly in the wintertime. That way we can get it done. So it took a bit longer than we expected because of the run we ended up doing for it. However, I think we did solve the problem. Knock on wood. We're going to find out next summer, basically during that hose bib season. And then after that, we ended up going and doing another quote, essentially. There's a building that we service that needs to change the risers. And the risers are the vertical pipes that go up and down that distribute water in all the condominiums. And there are a couple of different lines. Stick with me here, peeps. A line is basically one that describes where that pipe is running. So you have two lines for your washrooms, right? You need a hot and a cold line to go there. And then you usually need two lines for your kitchen. So you have hot, cold, and going there. And sometimes you'll have two lines going for your washing machines, if the condos have washing machines inside, which they normally do. But normally that is close enough to one of the lines that you don't have to actually run two lines from downstairs. You just take it off of one of the other existing lines. So nonetheless, there is the penthouse suite that's being renovated currently that we were asked to come in, find out how much it would cost to change the riser from the valve, which is outside in the hallway, all the way throughout the entire suite. And we had to go in and do that. And the good thing about this is that because it's currently being renovated, we have the ceiling completely open right now to enable in order to be able to run these pipes, which is a great blessing, because what we don't want to do is 5 years down the road, when they decide to do the entire building, is now rip open the ceilings that these people that own this condo are currently rip open the ceilings that they've just renovated basically within the next 5 years. So we don't want to do that to them. So we're kind of looking ahead and pricing that. It's a bigger job, I gotta be honest. There's a lot of pipe that needs to go into these things, and there's a lot of holes that currently need to be made, because what the demo has done was it's taken out all the walls, it's taken out all the floors. What the demo hasn't done is take out all the ceilings. So if we do get the job, Dad and I are going to have to go in one day and just open the ceilings, and then the following day, or whenever the schedule is, we're going to have to go in and finally actually start replacing these pipes. It's also a bigger job because you now have to notify all the tenants in the building that we're going to be shutting in water, and that's usually a whole day sort of thing because these pipes are really lengthy. Like I think just one run to the kitchen, I think it was 4 lengths of pipe, and one length is 12 feet, so 48 feet of pipe, if you know what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's not the most difficult job in the world, but it is something that is a little bit more intricate, because you got to open holes strategically so that you can solder pipes in there. You got to make sure the pipes are in a certain line, that they have certain supports, and then once you're done all the connections, you also have to insulate these pipes, because especially the hot water pipe, especially the cold water pipe, it tends to sweat in the summertime because you got air conditioning going on. It tends to sweat in the winter time because it's hot inside and the cold pipe is cold, so it ends up condensating on you, and that's something you just got to be aware of. So we ended up doing that, and we ended off Thursday by going over to a house, and we installed 3 brand new vanities, and these were high-end vanities. Let me explain to you what kind of vanities they were. They were the type of vanities that were bowls. Have you ever seen these things? They're a bit more expensive, very fancy, very chic, I think is the correct word. But these bowls are put onto a countertop, and then you got to put all the piping in between it and make sure that it runs into the piping system below. We had to reinstall 3 of those. The story goes that the cleaning lady was cleaning around this bowl, and at some point she ended up I guess rotating it, and it completely broke from underneath, so they didn't have one anymore. And you can't just replace one, it's going to look awkward, right? So if you replace one, you got to replace both. So as they were doing that, these owners decided, you know what, we also have one downstairs. It's up there in age as well. They're all pretty much the same age, these fixtures, so why not just replace all three? So Dad and I got in there, and it was faster than I expected, but it was definitely... Sorry about that weird cut right there. The wife is leaving. She's working on a Saturday because there's an election going on in Ontario, and she works for a company that facilitates these sort of things, so she was just saying bye to me. That's what we ended up doing on Thursday. Let me get back to that very briefly. So it took... I don't know, it was both fast and it was long at the same time. The real big difficulty with the two vanities that we had to install in this place was that you had, it was circular and it was a bowl, but the way it was designed and manufactured from below was the bowl also had this bowl element from underneath. So when you put it on the countertop, it didn't sit flush with the countertop because it had a round bottom. So what we had to do was we had to cut a really big section of the countertop in order to fit this thing so it's flush with the countertop. So that was a little bit of problem solving that my dad had to do. He was doing that while I was assembling the entire unit, which wasn't really difficult, but for Dad, it was a lot more intricate because he had to measure, he had to make sure it was exactly in the spot that they needed. You also got to keep in mind that they had faucets already mounted onto the countertop as well, so you had to make sure that the bowl was close enough to that so it looked like it was intended to be that way rather than accidental, I guess, but you had to make sure it was basically aiming inside the bowl correctly so that it looked good and it was functional at the same time. So there was a little bit of intricacy there. So he had to do some cutting there. And then the third one, we were worried we were going to have a real big headache because it was a different type of bowl altogether, but actually it was the easiest of all three. We ended up doing that. We got home a bit later. We got home around 7 p.m. that day, but it was worth it because it's up north, and every time you drive up north, it's just pristine to just see big farms and open spaces. I find that it was like 4 o'clock when Dad was like, hey, we got to go to this other place. You want to go? And I was like, where is it? He's like, this place. It's up north. I go, yeah, let's go. Because it's just so, I don't know, calming, you know? I had a great day on Wednesday where I fished and it was calming. Then I had this trip out on Thursday. It's about the small victories, peeps. It's about the small victories. And then yesterday, peeps, we ended up doing some finishing at a building, which I vlogged, and that's the vlog that's going to be coming out this week. We ended up doing, replacing a vanity, a bathroom, a bathtub, and a toilet. So I was going to say bathroom group. That's what a bathroom group is. And that was my week, peeps, and that's been the podcast. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to tell you. Aside that, I got a couple of videos coming up. I have to edit this video, the vlog that I was just telling you about, but there have been a couple of questions out there for a couple of different types of videos that I have to get done because I think they're really important to the plumbers out there that are thinking of getting into this sort of thing. So, I mean, yeah, that's been my week. That's been my journey as of now. Let's take a look at the comments real quick. I just want to see... There were a couple of really interesting ones that I wanted to address before getting off this podcasting tin right here. We have a new subscriber out there named Sandeep Kumar. Sandeep Kumar, thank you for messaging me, by the way. A couple of guys have been interested about pricing. Plumbing salaries. That's what people want to know about. That's the video I have to do for you guys because I think it's something that people are interested in. It's something that definitely motivates people to get into anything, I think. So it's something I'm gonna have to do, and I'm probably gonna be shooting that this weekend. Just giving you my experience as to how much plumbers make and from what people say plumbers are supposed to be making. I hear some different numbers out there. Some people think plumbers make over $100,000 a year. Other plumbers think they make even more than that, like $200,000 a year. I think there are plumbers out there that do it, but I think there are very specific circumstances as to how and why these plumbers are doing it. So it's a conversation I definitely want to have with you guys. So Sandeep, and there was another gentleman who was asking for this as well a while back. Let me find your name. Yeah, LT Chapters. LT, I'm going to be doing one for you as well, man. LT was the original asking of it. And I think LT is actually getting into a trade school right now. I saw a video. LT Chapters has a YouTube channel. The guy seems hilarious. Check him out if you get a chance. I think he did a video recently about whether or not you should go to university or join a trade school. So LT, I'm going to get you some information about how much plumbers make. Definitely real numbers from here in Canada. I think you're from England, so I might do some research for you there. I'll see how intricate I can make it. So that was Sandeep, who's asking me to do a video in LT Chapters for that. I got a great video from Tristan on my day in the life of a plumber apprentice. Josh McFate is talking to me about standalone tubs and how he thinks they're way easier than that other baloney that we had to do with the two slabs on the two sides. Standalone tubs, my friends, are a dream compared to tubs that you have to do in condominiums that are between two walls, essentially. So I have a couple of videos like that where we installed a tub like that. And then the last video I did, which was vlog 35, it has an example of a standalone tub, which is a really pretty unit, but very expensive to do. So although it's faster, you also have to be a little bit more careful because the product is way more expensive, and any mistakes there really hurt the pocket, if you know what I'm saying. So that's basically it. I gotta say, peeps, it's been a slice. It's been about a 40-minute podcast. I really appreciate you guys listening in. I'm really trying to still figure out if this is something you guys want or if it's something I should stray away from. I don't know yet. I'm going to do a couple more probably within the next coming weeks to figure that out. But I just want to remind you, you guys are really awesome. Very important to me. I really appreciate all the support. Much love from Kenny Molotov. And I'll see you guys very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.